Next up, guys, we've got Dennis Buzukja taking on Jamal Emmers. Fun scrap here at 145 pounds. And listen, guys, I don't think either one of these guys is a future title challenger at 145 pounds. I don't think either one of these guys is, the next big thing in the weight class. But one of them's minus 300, minus 275, and the other one is plus 2XX. And for me, that just makes it a pretty clear click on the Dennis Buzukja side or passing on this fight for me. Now, your mileage may vary, right? I know that Jamal Emmers has a contingency out there, especially in the MMA betting community. He definitely has gone out there and produced a little bit recently. Got that Hussein Askabov win. I think a lot of people were impressed by that. I do think a lot of people feel the same way as my guy Dixon. They think Emmers deserved the win against Farjak Jenkins. Excuse me, he didn't get it right. Jenkins gets the win there. So I think that left, maybe a sour taste in some people's mouth. Maybe that makes people think, they should be even more bullish on Jenkins. He should be more bullish on Emmers. He should be on a 2-fight win streak, right? But let's just go back and evaluate his UFC career fight by fight, okay? Jamal Emmers, minus 255 against Julian Erosa, gets KO2. So he loses the fight via knockout in the second round against Julian Erosa on Contender Series. Okay, then he gets the call up to the UFC. That was all the way back in June of 2018. Gets the call up to the UFC in March of 2020. Giga Chikadze, split decision lost on UFC 248. So Emmers basically remembered that he was able to wrestle in the third round, right? So he's going against the kickboxer and he decides not to wrestle until round 3. I thought it could have easily been a fight for him, but again, it's a fight where Jamal Emmers goes out there. He's a minus 170 favorite. He's expected to win the fight. He's got a clear path to victory. He's got all the skills that you'd think he needs. Doesn't win the fight. Okay, no problem. So next fight out, we look at Jamal Emmers. He gets the win against Vince Cachero. Could y'all pick Vince Cachero out of a lineup? All right. Next up, we've got Pat Sabatini. Pat Sabatini on this fight card, right? We discussed Pat before. He's got skills, but he's not a world beater. He's not somebody that's undefeated or something. He's got up and down results. Good fighter for sure. But what happened in that fight? Jamal Emmers goes out there and as a minus 135 favorite, gets a knockdown in the early going, and then instantly gets into a grappling exchange with Pat Sabatini, which you'd think that's his only path to victory. And then he gets submitted instantly and gets his knee completely torn apart. So he's out for a while, right? He comes back from the Sabatini fight 2 years later. It was August 2021. He comes back in February of 2023 and beats Hussein Askabov, okay? Now let's go back and look at Hussein Askabov and find out exactly what he was arrested for, okay? So Hussein Askabov arrested in Thailand, so the UFC had to cancel his bout. He's gone, okay? He's fired. He's gone from the UFC. He beat a fraud in a 3-round split decision, and we wish him the best for that. Now, when I look at the Jack Jenkins fight, that showed me a little bit that if it's a fight that's within the margin and they can rob Jamal Emmers, they will try to rob Jamal Emmers, okay? He's 1-4 as a favorite in the UFC for a negative 75.6% ROI. I just can't ever bet on that guy as a favorite. I can't. The data says I shouldn't. And I look at the matchup and I say to myself, all right, is Dennis Buzukja the worst fighter in the world? Because that's what I would need him to be. And I don't think Dennis Buzukja is the second coming. I don't think he is a great fighter, but I do think that he's a functional, serviceable featherweight. I think he's about average, right? I think that his ceiling in the UFC is not that high, but Jamal Emmers is 34. He's a featherweight, okay? He's one of the older guys in the division. He's not a young guy. So you look at where he's going to be competing. Last time out, Sean Woodson against Dennis Buzukja. Sean Woodson's 31 years of age, right? Dennis Buzukja is 25 years of age. He takes the fight on very short notice. He's at an 8-inch reach disadvantage. And I'm looking at it just saying to myself, I think Buzukja was live in the spot. I've never really been a big Woodson guy. And Buzukja underperformed in that spot, no doubt about it. But then I listened to his interviews, and he said, listen, I cut 25 pounds, and I felt like death in the first round. So I do think that, a guy like Buzukja, I'll cut him a little bit of slack. Because here's why. If he just said that, talk is cheap, right? But if you guys go back and watch, I thought he looked much better and more competitive and much more honest in the Melsik Bagdasaryan fight. And Melsik Bagdasaryan is a scary guy. Like Melsic's trying to kick your head off. He's trying to beat you up. He's really trying to get after you. And I felt like that was a fight where Dennis went out there and had a competitive second round. He was sick and still went out there and competed with the guy and made it a much more honest affair. So I definitely think that Dennis is not the best finisher. He's not the most dangerous guy. But I think that in a fight like this, where he's much more prepared, where he's got the date well in advance, I think he's going to have the support of the local crowd. I think if somebody is to get a robbery decision in this fight, it's more likely to be Dennis Buzukja. I think there's just a lot more reasons to like that side for me. So it's a dog or pass situation as far as I'm concerned. Shout out to Rich. He mentioned it on our show last week. Hope that some people took advantage of the pricing. I know it's changed since then, but I think that do your own independent research always and see what you believe. But I just can't get to Emmers in this spot. I think that Buzukja is a guy that will be a future fade, but I think this is a time to bet on him. He was a smaller underdog last time to Woodson, and I thought that was a tougher fight with more difficult contextual circumstances. So